Hello viewers, during our last 4 lessons we have been discussing question 1A and 1B. We have looked at the various classes of question 1A and 1B, and then we also looked at plotting, and now we want to do the last lesson in this series, which is the things to do and the things not to do. When you are writing a composition in question 1A and 1B, it is important that you do not exceed the length. According to the instructions in this paper, your composition should not be more than 450 words. And by estimation, 450 words means that you should not write more than 2 sides of one foolscap. Assuming that on one face of a foolscap has that 3 lines, so if you have 2 faces of the foolscap, that would give you about 660 lines, and therefore we estimate that on average the length that is acceptable should not exceed 2 pages of a foolscap. The other thing that you need to observe is that you should not mix British and American English, especially when it comes to spelling and choice of words. As I also indicated when I discussed class C, which is characterized with overuse of cliches, avoid using or overuse of cliches in your composition. We're also saying that a candidate should avoid using contracted forms of words unless it is within direct speech. And then the instructions for this paper is that you are supposed to write in English, and therefore the candidate must ensure that they avoid using vernacular words. However, there are some words which are acceptable, those words that are classified under Kenyan English, and such words are ugari, rungu, shamba, matatu, wananchi, magendo, harambe, matoke, askari, duka, debe, nyayo, boma, sukuma wiki, manyata, and such other words. These words are acceptable. You can use them without having to quote or without being penalized for having used vernacular words. Now, it is also important to obey all rules of dialogue. And by that we mean that every set of a conversation should appear on a separate line. The candidates should also make sure that they avoid repetition, and here we are talking about repetition of ideas as well as a repetition of words. Then all omissions of commas, full stop, and so on are heavily penalized, and therefore the candidate must ensure that they do not omit necessary punctuation marks. The candidates are also reminded to write neatly and legibly. And also when you get your question paper and your answer sheet, do not rewrite the question. The candidate should go straight to the answer and avoid rewriting the question. In some instances, you might be told to write a composition that is entitled. That is the only time when you are supposed to provide a title for your composition. Otherwise, if you are not told, then it is not necessary to write the title. However, should you decide to write the title, then marking starts from that title. Candidates are also reminded to ensure that they observe and they stick to fixed forms of expressions. By fixed forms of expressions, I mean proverbs, idiomatic expressions. These have a fixed form, and therefore the candidate must ensure that they do not alter the fixed forms. For example, we say that a stitch in time saves 9. Where a candidate says a stitch in time saves 8, for example, the whole of that expression is heavily penalized because it has a fixed form. There is this other expression which is commonly misused, where candidates say think before you leap. The correct format of that expression should be look before you leap. So if you say think before you leap, then the whole of that expression is penalized because it has a fixed form, and the fixed form must always be observed. Where you have decided to write a story, you must ensure that your story has a moral, where we are saying we expect you to punish vices and make sure that you also reward the virtues, as I already indicated in my previous lesson. I have also said that you avoid killing your characters, because dead people do not learn lessons, and therefore when you are writing your resolution or the resolution of your story, let the characters have a credible turning point so that you avoid killing them. There are some candidates who use big words with the intention to scare the teacher. So we are saying, if you decide to use such big words, vocabulary, be sure of their meaning, and also be sure that you are conversant with their context of usage. I want to give an example by looking at these two words. We have the word start and the word begin. Both these two words are synonyms. However, their usage is different. For example, we say start the engine, but we cannot say begin the engine. And therefore, when you choose to use a word, make sure that you understand the usage, the context of usage for that particular word. There are some other words that are used in context. For example, we have the word pandemonium. Pandemonium, by definition, is a very noisy and confused situation, especially one that is caused by a lot of anger or angry people. And therefore, it would be wrong to say, when the bride arrived at the church, there was pandemonium. The pandemonium is a good word which candidates can use. However, you must use vocabulary or expressions in acceptable context. Candidates are also reminded to ensure that they observe spelling, especially when we are talking about problematic words. Words such as committee, we should be double M, double T, double E. We have a word like repetition, which many candidates spell as repetition, which is unacceptable. We have the word embarrassing, which is double R, double S. We have the word dining, which is single N. We have a word like occurrence, which is double C, double R. Then we have other words like in front of. Many candidates join in and front so that the expression is made up of two words. That should be a three-word expression, that is in, front, and of. And then the same case applies to in spite of, which many candidates join in and spite so that the expression is formed using two words, that is in spite and of. Then we have misuse of common prepositions. For example, you could see a student writing, I am good, I'm good with the maths, according with me. So that misuse of preposition is heavily penalized. Candidates are also reminded to avoid using obscene and vulgar language. Of course, when students are in school, we teach them morals, we teach them ethics, and therefore candidates must ensure that they avoid using obscene words and also vulgar language. So these are some of the things that you need to observe when you are writing your composition. Ensure that you do the right thing. Remember, you have only one opportunity to present yourself to the examiner or the teacher who is marking your composition. And once a judgment is made, then that judgment may not be altered, and therefore make sure that you put your best foot forward so that you can be given the necessary or the right mark, because that would go a long way in ensuring that you get a good grade and a good score in your English examination, especially paper 3, question 1 and question 1A and question 1B. Thank you very much. I want to ask again that you follow me on my YouTube channel. I can also be found on TikTok.